Yeah.
So tell me if you can see me. I'm standing here.
Yeah.
You see me in there?
Yeah.
Make sure it's framed right. Oh, is it? It's not low. No. Before you get it.
I think she already moved. She's keeping her sitting.
Just have to escape.
Oh, it's because it's
Perfect.
check.
No, it's not on yet.
Not yet.
Nice try.
Wait until it's back.
All right, we're good. All right. Welcome in, everybody. Great to see so many people here tonight. My name is Rob. I am the new Bird Studies Director. And so welcome to the December 2024 meeting. Who here is new and has not been to a bird study meeting before? So I'm going to go through some slides before we get to our speaker. We're going to go through a bunch of little topics here. Talk a little bit about what the Hamilton Naturalist Club does, a little bit about the birds I've been seeing the last little while, a little bit of bird advocacy news. And, I forgot to bring up my prop, my field guide. I'll grab that in a minute. And some upcoming events. So the Hamilton study area is where the Naturalist Club focuses its attention on. It encompasses the entirety of Hamilton and Burlington, and the towns of Milton, Grimsby, and Oakville, and the reserves of Six Nations, and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. And most of the city of Brantford is within it. It also contains the town of Halton Hills, a region municipality of Waterloo, and various other municipalities. I thought it'd be nice just to talk a little bit about that there is a lot of different municipalities and such that are part of the HSA. As well, these lands have been the traditional territories of various indigenous groups, such as the Erie Peoples, Adirondack, Huron-Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, Mississaugas, and countless others whose names are not known. In addition, these lands are covered by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, which is an agreement between the Haudenosaunee Confederacy and the Anishinaabe to share and care for the resources of the Great Lakes. This land is covered by Between the Lakes Purchase 1792 between the Crown and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. The Hamilton Naturalist Club has been protecting nature since 1919, so we are an old organization. We're a nonprofit dedicated to the study and appreciation and conservation of wild plants and animals. Our meetings and field events are open to everyone. A membership is not required. However, by becoming a member, you will be getting our monthly journal, The Wood Duck, and supporting our mission to protect nature in all these areas I just mentioned. The Hamilton Study Area, which we often refer to as the HSA. So if I say HSA, those of you who aren't familiar with Hamilton Study Area, that's what I'm referring to. The Hamilton Naturalist Club presently is steward over 10 nature sanctuaries representing over 500 acres of land, and it partners with many other organizations to protect even more land. The club and its members also conduct numerous bird surveys and participate in bird conservation efforts across the HSA. And there's just a list of our sanctuaries right there for those who are aware. We encourage our community members to consider what they might be able to do to support new birders and naturalists of all ages, including those who may be Indigenous or part of other minoritized groups. We are altogether facing the challenge of climate change. Growing naturalist and birding communities can help support the protection of what remains, and in time can help us reclaim what has been lost so far. So what can you do beyond membership with the club is become a board member. We do have an opening, and we've been looking for a little while for a grants and fundraising director. So if that's something that sounds interesting to you, please let us know. You can catch myself or maybe hands up from anyone else on the board here, just so you know. There are a few other board members here. So there's a few around. You could write for our journal, The Wood Duck. You can just email woodduck@hamiltonnature.org for more information. Habitat restoration work, we're always looking for volunteers at our nature sanctuaries. So if you like to take out your aggression on invasive species, that could be a thing. We also love to have more leaders for field events. You don't even have to be an expert in anything per se. Just guiding people around and finding expertise within the group, I find works very well. And we have a club Discord. I forgot to put the link in here, so I'll have to do that later, but refer to that later. But let me know, or someone else, just contact one of us and we can get you the link to that. And I'll be referring to another Discord that's going on, the Ontario Birds one, where I'm getting a lot of stuff for the last months of reports. The bird study group, the goals of the group are to keep our minds on birds beyond what we see and hear in the field, to allow a broader conversation about bird ecology, threats, efforts, trends, and predictions, bring awareness and amplify efforts, initiatives, projects that are having a positive impact, and to bring the average person and the expert birder into the same space. And now we're a little bit about the birds of the area. So I've selected this as Bird of the Month. Liam Thorne found this red phalarope down in Coots Paradise. I lifted this photo off of eBird by Laura Jabra. And this is the best photo I could find on there of this bird. Of course, that's not the only bird there. We'll get to more later. Winter birding season has started. For those who aren't aware of like the term winter birding specifically, there are people who do winter birding listings specifically, and it follows the meteorological definition of winter, so that is December 1st through the end of February, whatever happens to be any given year. So that could be an interesting hobby for the winter to get you outside and doing some birding. Project Feeder Watch, for those who want to sit inside more, is the thing you can sign up for, and keep an eye on your bird feeder and help with, it's a citizen science project, so you can help the study of feeder birds. The Wello IBA survey, which Chris Motherwell is maintaining, you can email him at that address there. That is the west end of Lake Ontario, by the way, the short form for it. And that's just a special area, it's identified as a special area of concern for birds, breeding birds. The Lake Ontario Midwinter Waterfowl Census, but we usually just call it the duck count, is coming up in January. So if you're, I'll tell you it's not for the faint of heart generally, because it is pretty cold out there sitting along the lake shore during the winter, early January. It's probably the first or second weekend of January. My guess is it's probably the second weekend of January, because the Christmas bird count is going still in the first weekend. But you can email Chris Motherwell to find out more about that. And of course the Christmas bird counts, which I will speak more of in a few minutes. Well, you all see this. I thought this would be fun to put up. Here's our map of northern shrikes locally. So here's a fun bird you can go looking for in the winter. I always just get one or two every winter, and it'd be great to see more. You'll notice that on the outer periphery of the HSA, there's a lot more sightings. So it'd be fun challenge. If anybody's looking for a fun challenge of an interesting bird to go see, this is our one. Well, you know, maybe once in a while we get a loggerhead shrike, but, oh, does Bruce have a question?
You got blue and red.
Yes, so this is lifted from eBird. Blue means older than a month, I think, or older than 2 weeks, the sightings, I think. So red are the most recent sightings. The blue are the oldest ones, probably from early November, I'm guessing, is what the difference there. For those unaware of eBird's range maps and how that works. But these are all late 2024 sightings. I did filter down to that. It's a fun bird, good chase. It's one of our few songbirds of prey, as I like to call them. I have, on one occasion, watched one singing while sitting there waiting for something to go capture. It's pretty fun. This was a fun little story coming from the Ontario Birds Discord, so I'll let you take a look at that. So this was an owl that was reported on the Ontario Birds Discord as injured and sitting on the ground. And a few hours later, from a few conversations, this was the HSA chat channel, the owl was safe at the Owl Foundation, and it'll probably be released with the damaged eye, which you can, oh yeah.
There's an announcement to do that it passed, they had to euthanize it.
Oh, it passed. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
They reacted to medication.
Oh, bad reaction.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's an update on this part, you'll see it.
Oh, I missed it then. But still a good story that people acted and went and got this bird some care, some hope there. I know it is pretty typical when birds go into those kinds of situations, they don't tend to come out, but it's still nice to see people putting the effort for it. This was kind of a fun one. I love when you have a bird you can identify the absolute individual of, and this was an American crow that returned after a year. It showed up in Georgetown. This photo is from last year, but someone posted to Facebook, one of the Ontario Birds group, a photo of the exact same bird about basically a year later in Georgetown. So it's kind of fun. I enjoy that when you can find the exact same bird again. And the Pacific loon is back. This thing's been in our waters in Hamilton Harbor. It's been a couple of years now, I think. It's come back for. And that photo's from Nura. It's one of the best ones I could find that you can kind of identify that the one on the right is the Pacific loon and the one on the left. Just from the bill alone, you can kind of tell there. But that's also a little diagram someone posted to the Discord that I lifted for this. And this can be seen in Hamilton Harbor. It usually needs a scope, unless it gets really close up. But usually if you find one of the popular spots where people are hanging out looking at this bird, somebody will usually share a scope, so you can get a good look at it for those who, like me, didn't have a scoop for a long time. So, and there's a few other ones. One of the top one here is fresh off the press. Kind of, I saw the email a couple hours ago that there's a snowy owl down Pure 8, and purple sandpiper has been seen recently. Ancient murrelet was in Bronte Harbor. Cave swallows have been showing up all over the Great Lakes for some reason this year. A couple of barred owl sightings, which is kind of notable. It's showing that they're showing up in more places now. There was a small group of white-winged crossbills, I think it was 3 or 4 females, that showed up in Halton Forest a few days ago. And some various warblers at Joshua Valley, Oakville, and one at LaSalle as well. And evening grosbeak was an interesting one. I like hearing about that because the winter finches I always look forward to, but so rarely get to see. So there's some interesting birds around, and those are all from since the last meeting, basically. Next I'd like to get into a little bit of bird advocacy updates, something we might be trying here, something new. This one came from Birdsong Hamilton. So the Ward 12 office in Ancaster, they applied bird-friendly window markers to the windows of their Ancaster office. They were donated by Feather Friendly, and the donation was facilitated by Birdsong Hamilton. And so we have photos of that. Actually, I'll go back and let you see that for more than a second there. And this is, of course, the application you do to prevent birds from striking the windows because they often can't see the windows. And it kind of explains on here, it might be hard to read from a distance, but basically it is talking about the prevention of bird striking. Also from them, it's concerning the city's purchase rezoning the turtle ponds in Stony Creek. Most birders know this as Edge Lake. So those who remember the term Edge Lake know it. Popular birding spot, especially during migration. The south half of the property is now protected, but the north half is in private hands still. Birdsong Hamilton's been in touch with the council from Ward 10, who's been helpful, but we're looking for more information about the ownership of the north half, so if anybody knows anything about that, please reach out to Barry Coombs, who's here tonight. Maybe Barry, put your hand up, and if somebody knows, he's at the back over there. If somebody does know, go look him out. The goal, of course, is to protect the entire woodlot because there are not very many spots that migratory birds can stop over along that portion of Lake Ontario anymore. It's one of the last ones left, so very important. There's a bit of a zoom in of it. And I decided to personalize a little bit and throw in some photos I found from my social media from years ago that I took in that area, such as this black and white warbler, down, and chestnut-sided, and some bees, and trout lily, that's what it's called. This one was a weird photo, but I decided to add it. That's not actually a kill. A fox wouldn't take down something that big, I don't think. I was trying to figure out what was going on there, and I later found out it was a stuffed toy that just happened. So I don't know what was going on. This is one of my favorite Perula photos, which I took there. There's some other local bird organizations that some work on advocacy, some of them are to enjoy and go birding with, like our group, so Trumpeter Swans, the Society, the Pit-Pits, which is great for if you're just a beginning birder and want to join a group of beginning birders. Bird Friendly Hamilton Burlington, who helps facilitate some of the flap stuff with the bird strikes as well. Larks, which is an older birding group. I'm not sure who's facilitating the larks these days, so if someone knows, let me know. The Feminist Bird Club Hamilton, which also does a lot of walks around the area. Birdsong Hamilton, which was mentioned before, and the Niagara Peninsula Hawk Watch, which that will be coming up in March as well. So yeah, I'm going to grab my book here. me a second there, but I like to have a prop. So this is a pretty neat book. There really wasn't a good finch guide out until this year, and it contains all of our winter finches, and as well as some from Hawaii. And what I loved about it is it does include some of the song type stuff with visualizations of the calls. I want to see if I can find one. So it's hard to see here, but you'll see some of the spectrograph on the page. And so there are parts where they talk about what each type looks like. So that was the type 3, what's called the Western Hemlock crossbill. These are the different right crossbill types. And there's like type 8, just all the range maps for all these different types and everything. It's a really neat book. I enjoyed it quite a bit. So we'll look for that. There's a lot of local booksellers you can get that at. If you're looking for a small independent bookseller, there's lots of those around. So a little bit about upcoming events. December with, this is with Jackson Udeki. I'll check my time, please. Make sure I'm good. All right. So as winter settles in, conditions of the region change. Birds undoubtedly seek habitat-rich locations to get through the colder seasons. So Jackson's leading this stroll through the birding hotspot of Princess Point. We're going to look around the south side of Coots March, basically. Might get the rest of your 2024 checklist rounded off here, maybe. But yeah, it's a free event, of course, but there is paid parking on site. So if you're driving there and don't have a RBG membership, you will have to pay for that. But yeah, the agency runs several field events like this throughout the year. So for those who are unaware of that, we're going to have lots more of these coming up in the new year. So next, Christmas bird count season has begun. Throwing in a little bit of photos from my own Christmas bird count I just did 2 days ago in Walkerton, where I drove back up. That's where I'm originally from, enjoying their count. And it was actually wintry. I was so impressed. It's the first Christmas bird count I've done with snow in years, I think. So it was very snowy. And I got one of my favorite photos of the year there, which was this one. So this was a rough-legged hawk. It was, I caught it as I was driving down this side road, just kind of coming in, and I saw it landed somewhere over a hill. I drive over there, and I catch it just in time to watch it pull up a vole and swallow it whole. And then it flew over and landed on a pole right in front of me. Didn't seem to care I was there. So I just drove right past it, got out of the car, looked behind me, and the sun was perfect for that angle, and got a few photos, and got this basically accidentally because I've given up on getting photos like this for a long time. So I just keep shooting and hope something happens. But yeah, that was in Brant Township, actually just like a couple blocks from the farm I grew up on. So we got Christmas bird counts, of course, around here, but I'm coordinating the Hamilton and Flamborough one, and Chris Motherwell's coordinating the Peachtree one. And these are coming up on Thursday, December 26th, Boxing Day is traditionally the Hamilton Day for the Christmas bird count. Flamborough, we've settled on the 30th for that, and Peachtree always kind of floats every year, so this year it is on Saturday, January 4th. So you can sign up at hamiltonnature.org, just look through the activities thing. There should be a bird counts link, or you can catch me and just get my email address or something. But I especially want to focus on, because I didn't mention much of this last time when I talked about the count, the Flamborough Christmas bird count's a fairly new count, and we always need more counters. So just some selection of the places we have, although some of these are already taken because they're really nice birding spots. But when we made the circle, we aimed to fit as many conservation areas in a circle as possible, rather than choosing like an optimal center point. We tried to make it an optimal, like, how much can we fit in one circle that is the standard width. So we got this litany of places such as Beverly Swamp and Valens and Fletcher Creek, Kelso, Hilton, Rattlesnake, Crawford Lake, Mount Nemo, Mountsburg, Robert Edmondson CA, Lafarge Trail, Cork Cliff, There's lots of kilometers of the Bruce Trail as part of this, and a few tracks of the Halton Forest are snuck into the top east corner, northeast corner there. So if any of that sounds interesting to you on the 30th, we always are looking for counters. The next HNC general meeting, and this is every month the club has 2 meetings. The general meeting, which is of the whole club, can be a wide range of topics. This meeting is the bird study group meeting, which tends to be focused on birds. So the next general meeting is going to be on what do rivers want, natural stream channel design. So look forward to that on the 13th here. So we'll get Ellie Papagiannakis from McMaster, so presenting on that. And these just put my photos to shame, really. Our next presenter for the Hamilton Naturalist Club Bird Study Group next month, this is a photo from him. And this is Shay Smith. I forgot to put his name in here. That's an oversight on my part. But there's a little bit about the description he gives for his talk. So the name of that talk is Convergent Flyways, Divergent Perspectives, a Nature Journey Through My Lens. And one of my goals over with picking out speakers was I really wanted to get someone who started during the pandemic, because I've been hearing from them, and this is one of those people who started as a pandemic burner. And that'll be January 20th, of course Monday night, 7:30 here. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that a lot. And now for tonight's speaker. So Markus Legzdins is a student at Fleming College studying fish and wildlife. And he's going to be talking about his 2023 Hamilton Study Area Big Year. And I'm not going to speak too much about it because I'm sure he's got a lot to say about it. So if we can get Markus up, we can begin.
Hi everyone, my name is Markus Legzdins, and it's an honor to be here today to present my 2023 HSA Big Year presentation with you today. So I'll start with a little bit about myself. I grew up in Oakville, and I started birding from a very young age with an interest in nature, especially birds. I saw a species known as sparkbird, which is a great kiskadee in 2018 in Rondeau, which is kind of what got me into birding. I started logging my sightings into eBird, which is a citizen science platform, in 2020, and I am now a student at Fleming College studying fish and wildlife. In 2021, I received the Robert Curry Trophy for seeing 253 species within the Hamilton Study Area. And fast forward 1 year later, I found Ontario's first hepatic tanager in Shell Park in Oakville with Ben Oldfield. How many people know what a big year is? But quite a few. Well, I'll go over this quickly what it is. So a big year is what birders has for themselves, a personal goal, to see as many species as possible in one calendar year. It is mainly based on honor system. So while photographs and audio are not required, they're recommended to show what you've seen, and it's always good to look back at them. You should be confident in all your IDs throughout the year, and hybrids and subspecies don't count to your final total. The origin of the species must be wild, so you can't count any like exotic or escapee pets. And you should have a specified birding area, so a boundary that you're counting birds within. So it can be from your yard or as large as the world. And for my big year, I said for the Hamilton Study Area, and I counted birds that had to be physically inside the area. But each big year is your own, and you can set how the rules how you like them. So the HSA encompasses actually 8 regions, sorry. In that is a 25-mile radius from Dundurn Castle, and there's a green heritage. So why did I choose to do it in a big year? So in 2022, 2 young birders set a new all-time record for the province of Ontario. And that was Kaya Jasper and Ezra Campanelli, who Ezra grew up in Hamilton. So for my big year, it involved less driving. Even though I couldn't drive, my parents had to drive. I could visit areas that I would have never otherwise visited. I could really experience different places. I could raise awareness of just how many species we have in our area. And there were certain limitations. I couldn't be all the way across the province for a week. So during my big year, I was in high school, my grade 11-12 year. And and I could also support the Hamilton Naturalist Club in the process. So with that, just a few days before the start of 2023, I had the goal of seeing 275 species within the Hamilton study area, and of those, I would try to document as many as possible. So let me get started on the first day, which is January 3rd. I was out of the country for a few days, but I started on January 3rd. On the first day, I had seen 44 species, one of which was the black-headed kittiwake, which is quite an exciting start to a big year. I saw harlequin duck and red-throated loon on the same day. By the end of January, I had racked up a good number of species, 90 species, including several winter finches like evening grosbeak over here, snow goose, gray white-fronted goose, and this great cormorant, which is rare to our area. By the time early February rolled around, it was time to start searching various fields for winter raptors. And one of those was the short-eared owl. We would visit this field in the evening, and we found several short-eared owls hunting the fields there. At the same time, we had northern harrier and rough-legged hawk. And they were all visible at one time. It was quite impressive. So, does anyone have any species they associate with the kind of beginning of spring they'd like to share?
Red-winged blackbird.
Killdeer.
Mm-hmm. So one that I associate with the beginning of spring is the American woodcock. So. We went up to Briny Creek Provincial Park on March 9th to get the first ones of the year and found them singing, peeping away in the evening. But surprise to them is that they arrived a bit too early, and they were faced with a snowstorm in March. So they were left to find little puddles of open water. And so they looked for woodlots, and we found quite a few sheltering in these little puddles in the deep snow. And it gave us an opportunity to photograph an otherwise difficult species to document. By the time, at the end of March, I was out looking for this western grebe. And it wasn't just any western grebe. It was one that had a schedule of returning every year to this one location, which is at the mouth of the Credit River, just on border of the HSA. And I made a little scale on the bottom here that illustrates the years it was present at the Port Credit Harbor and which years it wasn't. So it is a recurring theme that keeps coming back. So this year, it was not there. It was at LaSalle, assuming it's the same bird. And last year, I was able to find it at the Port Credit Harbor. So now we're into April, and a lot of the fields some of the fields are flooded now. And a great spot to view a whole bunch of different diversity and a whole bunch of birds is around the Saltfleet area, where waterfowl, shorebirds, gulls will all come to feed. So here I have several species of like blue-winged teal, northern pintail, and American blackback. And then there are a few other shorebirds like dunlin, greater yellowlegs, and rare specialties like long-billed dowitcher. And then there's Bonaparte's gull and killdeer. In Brant, I was there in April with Bill Lamond, who took us out to see long-eared owls. And at the same time, we had a dark morph red-tailed hawk. And that was quite special, my first time seeing one. In Brant, they also is a good spot for staging areas for Lapland longspur. And here, it took us several times to get them, about 3 or 4 times, until we finally found them foraging in the fields. And here we have a vesper sparrow that just arrived from migration. So now I have a fun little quiz, a short quiz I made. So in the center of the screen, I have a map of the Templeton study area. And pointed on the map is a red arrow to a location where I saw a certain species of birds. One of these 3 species, barred owl, snow egret, or Bohemian waxwing. Now it's up to you to figure out which one of these 3 species I saw where the red arrow is pointing. So if I could get, if you think it's barred owl, you raise 1 finger. If you think it's snow egret, 2 fingers, and 3 fingers if you think it's Bohemian waxwing. So I'll give you a few seconds to figure it out and see what you guys think. Seeing a lot of 3s and 1s, 2s. Cool. Thank you. And yeah. Okay. So if you said C, Bohemian waxwing, you'd be correct. D, very good. They were at the University of Guelph, within 50 meters of the HSA boundary. We've got another one here. And same idea. 1 finger for black vulture, 2 for black-billed magpie, and 3 for lark sparrow. What do you think? All right. If you said A, black vulture, you'd be incorrect. But if you think black-billed magpie, you'd be correct. These were, we had a visitor, black-billed magpie, at the Dundas Baptist Church on April 12th, and it was feeding on a raccoon, or a rabbit carcass, sorry. And last one. So we have this one pointed to about the shoreline of around Bronte. So 1 finger for American avocet, 2 for little gull, and 3 for Pacific loon. Okay. So if you said American avocet, you're right. One of my favorite places to be around March and April is hawk watching at Beamer Conservation Area. Beamer is located along the Niagara Escarpment, and it's a great spot to observe migrating raptors. One of the first raptors we start seeing in late March would be red-shouldered hawks and rough-legged hawks. And as we get closer to May, we start to see broadwing hawks in the hundreds, sometimes even thousands. Other species like sharp-shinned hawk, red-tailed hawk, and Cooper's hawk are all visible from Beaver and turkey vultures. And there are also other species, non-raptors, that we can view as they migrate by, such as common loons and sandhill cranes. We've made it to May now, one of my favorite months to be birding. I'd like to take you through some of the regions and some of the highlights of species I saw. So first we're in Halton, and we have a worm-eating warbler at City View Park on May 14th. Next we have a black-legged kittiwake along Lake Ontario in the Bronte waterfront on May 5th. And we have a brant feeding on the lawn of Spencer Smith Park with some Canada geese on May 24th. Moving on to Hamilton region, there was a black tern at Windermere Basin on May 22nd. Louisiana water thrush in Dundas Valley on May 21st. They breed there in the deep valleys of Dundas Valley, as well as clay-colored sparrow at McMaster University on May 13th. Next, on to Niagara region. There was one spot in particular that stood out with some great birds. It was 40 Mile Creek. And on May 1st, I observed a fish crow and a golden-winged warbler there. And then near the end of May, there was a white-eyed vireo. Living along the shores of Lake Ontario, you can see a lot of shorebird migration. And one of the main shorebirds we look out for are whimbrels. And they migrate through our area in quite large numbers during a certain period of May. And here is a flock of whimbrel. They can migrate in smaller flocks or larger flocks like this of about 100 birds. And they fly in these kind of irregular groups. And here is one my mom spotted on the rocks at Burlow Park. You've got a good, nice view of it. And now we're on to June and July, where most of the migrated species that enter an area are setting up territories in the region in forests. So one of the great spots to see many of these breeding species are around the regional forest of Halton. Here we have some specialties like hooded warbler and wood thrush, also rose-breasted grosbeak. And the bugs can be quite bad in there. We have mosquitoes and black flies, so you need to suit up. Bug net. But it was all worth it when I saw my very first ruffed grouse. It only took me 3 years, but it was totally worth it when I finally crossed paths with it. So, a lot of species may be sleeping during the night, but there are certain species that are wide awake, such as owls, certain marsh birds, and birds like the eastern whippoorwill. My mom and I spent quite a few nights driving around the area of the regional forests, hoping to find a whippoorwill, and one night we got lucky and heard them singing away. Here in the background. So we just calling that far back in the field and in the forest, so that was quite amazing to find. Next, here I have photographed a somewhat very watery, grassy sedge area, and it was on the border of a soybean field. I'm going to play a song for you here, and I'm going to try to identify what I was trying to document here. this song from this habitat. And there's swallows and frogs and red-winged blackbirds, but does anyone know what the main bird that I was trying to get? Ben?
Cedric?
That's right. So this was a sedge wren singing from here, and it was this guy. He was making that song. So I discovered this bird here in May, and went back the next day to find another bird. So this left us with the possibility that it was a pair in suitable habitat that was possibly breeding there. So we kept going back once every about a week or so, and to try and document their progress as if they're possibly breeding here. So finally in August, I had the wonderful experience to find and photograph two recently fledged young sedge wren, which is quite a significant discovery, because sedge wren is not a regular bird to find in our area. So, now in June, here we have several species, flycatchers and cuckoo, that I wanted to see before the fall, as flycatchers and cuckoos are difficult to find in the fall. And the flycatchers don't really sing, so it's hard to tell them apart. So I was able to see alder flycatcher, black-billed cuckoo, and an Acadian flycatcher that set up territory in Cambridge on June 5th. And there's its song. It's a very energetic kind of rising song. In the fall migration, it's a great time to observe different passerines, raptors, waterfowl, shorebirds, and certain pelagic species. Here we have a variety of passerines, such as all-sided flycatcher, Canada warbler, black bull warbler, Cape May warbler, and yellow-rumped warbler. And they change their plumage into the fall, so they're not as colorful as they are in the spring. On the bottom left, there is a red crossbill. There was a good number of them in August in the Diamond Valley. And there's a flicker. So as I mentioned before, I spent a lot of time hawk watching in the spring. And in the spring, a lot of the raptors migrate along the Niagara Escarpment. But in the fall, they change their migration route, so they follow the kind of northern shore of Lake Ontario, which brings them to Burlington and Hamilton. So here I am, and just over to the left of me is Ben Kilburn, who we have with us today, and Matt, who I've birded with quite a lot during his hawk watches. A classic fall raptor is the golden eagle, quite a few of them. We saw, this is a dark morph red tail. It's a juvenile, quite uncommon. And northern harrier, and we saw several red-shouldered hawks. During August and September is a great opportunity to see various species of shorebirds, especially juvenile shorebirds, as they come back from the breeding grounds. So here, working from the left to right, we have stilt sandpiper, semi-palmated sandpiper. These are two juvenile red knots and a sanderling. Here's a American golden plover, a least sandpiper, and a Hudsonian godlings. They show up in sewage lagoons along the Lake Ontario shoreline and in various other locations. Some species I'd like to highlight are the willets. This is a large shorebird with a quite unique wing pattern, black and white wing pattern. My mom and I found one of these at Tollgate Ponds on August 12th, and it was the only occurrence of a willet in the entire HSA during 2023. Here we have a buff-breasted sandpiper at Wintergreen Basin on August 29th, and Legzdins down here, and redneck phalarope up top. And they were in the same pond together in Smithville, which is in Niagara. One of my favorite spots to be during late August and into December is lake watching from Van Wagner's Beach, which is along the west part of Lake Ontario. And the way the lake is shaped, a lot of the birds are funneled to this location during strong east winds. So there were multiple pelagic species we observed, such as parasitic jaeger. He's a juvenile. This is more of like a sub-adult parasitic jaeger. Some rarities, such as Arctic tern, blue eye. We got some ocean-going species like the sabine skull. And the list wouldn't be complete without the house sparrows, which you constantly see foraging on the rocks just below the lookout. Another winter gull is a kittiwake. Saw a few, I think I saw about 18 of them last year. And brant, there's like a smaller goose that we watch on migration. And little gull. But I think I'm missing one species here that wouldn't be complete without the man shearwater. This was one of my favorite and most memorable sightings in my 2023 big year. And it's a very rare species, very rare bird to see. It was the 3rd Ontario record, the 2nd HSA record, and Meg shearwater was one of the 2 shearwater species I saw last year, the second one being a sooty / short-tailed shearwater. I'd like to play a video for you, just you probably hear the energy in our voices, but here it is. Try to stay with didn't get too seasick watching. But that was such a great moment for us, and it was about, I think we were seven people on the viewing deck there. It was Ben's first time there. To see a shearwater your first time at Van Wagner's Beach, that's something. And it was almost all young birders there. We were about 6 young birders with another birder, and it was a fantastic moment to show other people. So looking at some of the best birds that I saw in October, there was this beautiful little blue heron in Dundas, and I added Nelson's sparrow in Peel. This is a Eurasian widgeon and a Barrow's goldeneye, and although they are separate species, they shared something in common, which was they were out there somewhere in hundreds of other waterfowl. This Eurasian widgeon was on Coos Paradise, mixed in with mallards, pintails, other widgeon, and it took a while to find it, but I saw it. And this Barrow's goldeneye, it was out on Lake Ontario, off Gray's Road, with a whole bunch of other goldeneye and scoters and whatnot, but it took a while and we saw it again. Now, I was told by a birder that all roads lead to the HSA, a quote you probably heard before. And in this case, for ancient Uralites, definitely believed this quote. So here on the map, up top here is from eBird. And these are all the sightings of ancient murrelet in 2024 on the Great Lakes. Something happened to make these ancient murrelets cross the whole continent. Not really sure what. But on November 16th, Keith Deeroff just found one swimming off Van Wagner's beach. And George, my friend George, we took a drive over, and it was already, we left when the sun was setting, and a drive that usually takes about 30 minutes took us 2 hours because of traffic. So we arrived when it was dark. So got my flashlight out and walked the whole beach for about 7 kilometers in the dark, hoping to turn up this ancient murrelet, but we came out unsuccessful. We were up the next morning before school, and with about an hour or so, an hour 30 minutes to look for it, and we chose to go to Spencer Smith Park. There, I was able to find it and see it flying away from me toward the beach strip. And we quickly raced over to the beach strip, and we were able to photograph it, and there it is flying. So that was one of the rarest species I observed during my big year. Into December, last month of the year, I was at 270 species, with 5 to go to have reached my goal. During December, I participated in several crested bird counts, such as South Peel, Flamborough, Peachtree, and the Hamilton crested bird count. And here's what our birding looked like. We had the Dundas area. Some of the highlights I observed on these bird counts was a group of white-winged crossbills in Briny Creek Provincial Park that were found by Mark Peck. And on crested bird counts, oftentimes really good birds are found because we have a whole lot of participants from all across the region, and they're out birding. So cool birds like these are turned up. Here we have a male and a female feeding on the seeds within the cones. So now, here we are in Dundas Valley on December 26th. And up here is a bird I've been hoping to see throughout the whole year, but I just couldn't find. And when my mom and I were searching through a very dense stand of conifers, we happened to stumble upon a barred owl. And this was a very cool sighting, so it was awesome. Now, we've got some winter gulls. It's cold outside, it's snowy, it's windy, but the gulls are still out. And a great place to observe a lot of the gulls is at the Yacht Club in Hamilton. And one of the species, that's a black-backed gull. We have a juvenile and an adult. That's a black-backed gull. And on top of the gulls, that brings us to the morning of December 28th, where we were standing along this ridge here looking down into Hesper Mill Pond. And there had been a certain species of gull that had reported there the day before. So we set up our scopes. Several other people were there looking for it as well. And before it was even light, we had spotted this bird here. And it is a Franklin's gull. So this was number 275. My final and the end bird, and the last bird I would get on 2023 big year. So, celebration. I reached my goal. I was still going to try to bird the remaining of the year. And just the next day later, I was birding LaSalle Park and found him again. So, throughout this big year, I tried to kind of work toward a fundraiser goal. And a lot of that was assisted by Bill and Lon, so thank you so much for arranging this fundraiser. And we fundraised $5,081 for the Hamilton Activist Club. So, thanks all to so much who donated and supported me throughout the journey. So this $5,081 not only goes to support meetings like today for the Bird City group, but also to support publications like the Wood Duck, the Wildlands Acquisition Fund, certain other funds like Conservation Fund, Sanctuary Land Trust funds, and other general needs where the Hamilton Access Club could see the money going to. And now, some tips for a successful big year. One of the main tips I can give you is to stay positive throughout the year. There'll be several species that you miss, and then there'll be great moments where you see the species that you chased. You definitely want to spend as much time as possible in the field. And a big year is not possible without teamwork. Without the support of my family, my mom, my dad, my sister, it would not be possible. And without my friend George driving me around all the time to chase so many birds before school, after school, it wouldn't have been possible. And without the support of you guys and the support of everyone contributing to eBird to find certain species and just in general have birds to chase. Plan it out. I didn't really get much of a plan, but I just kind of went with it how it went. And just the most important part is to have fun and enjoy your big year. You have a year to do it, and yeah, just really have fun with it. So with that, I am done on my part, and thank you so much for listening. Yeah, I hope throughout this big year, I could inspire some other younger birders to make positive impacts to their community and show that birding, you can do it anytime, anywhere. And yes, I can answer any questions you might have. Thank you so much.
I'm gonna walk over to you, give you.
Were you able to make your presentation in school to share that with the young people?
I did not present it to my school, but it's
Can
my
you do that?
I could, yes.
You were in the paper though.
More questions?
So you've obviously had fun and wonderful presentation. Would you do it again?
I would, yes.
And if you were to do it again, would you do it in a different area, or what would you do differently if you were to do it again? Let me put it that way.
I think I could expand my boundary to try and break the new Ontario record.
I don't think I need the mic drop. Markus, three short questions. The approximate size of the ancient merlet, the magnet water, and is your mother with us tonight?
Yes. My mom is right at the back over there. ancient murrelet is about the size of a pop can, so it's really tiny. And the Lancashire water is about the size of maybe a herring gull or so.
Any more questions? Sure.
Well, I don't usually need it.
I guess I was wondering what duck that is.
This is a ruddy duck.
And what does a shearwater eat? It's flying around like a crazy thing. What's it doing?
Yeah, it's a good question. They eat a lot of, I think sometimes little fish, or on the ocean especially, they eat stuff that floats on top of the water. So, not really sure how it got here, but it's in trouble.
Did you have any nemesis birds, birds that you could not find no matter how hard you tried?
Yeah, I think there was maybe a common redpoll, just not a great year for them. There's other things like pelican and stuff like that.
Did you have a favorite place that you birded, or a spot that was surprising that you'd never been to before?
Shell Park. It was a great spot I kept going back to it in the spring and the fall. And there were places, I think, across Hamilton that I visited during bird counts that I'd never been to before, and I'd kind of find these seem to be really good birding spots that I'd like to visit again.
Sorry, this isn't a question. Matt and I have said some time before our lifetime, we're going to try and combine our efforts to be 275.
Question. Anybody else have a question? Oh, lots of time. Oh, there we go.
This is just more of a comment about Markus. As I knew Markus was going to do this big year, and these are, I don't want to sound demeaning, but they're a little bit self-serving. You're doing this for yourself, but then Markus emails me and says, "Is there some way I can do this as a fundraiser to raise money for the Hamilton Naturals Club?" And then I realized, Markus's character, thinking ahead and thinking, what good can I make of this for others? And of course I said, oh yeah, I know what I can do, Markus. So I started right away planning this, and I can't even remember how I did this, but I set up some kind of sheet to help others. And we got people to donate, and we were getting people to donate either a flat amount, because they really didn't know how many birds Markus was going to see. He did say he was hoping to see 275. But a lot of people were donating by the species, which was really fun. Really more fun for Markus. So every time we got a new bird, yes, we got a new bird for his list. But I forget in the end how much each new bird was worth for the club. But it's quite a bit. Anyway, thank you.
Do we have any other questions?
Have you seen anything of that Fleming College that you haven't really seen down here very much?
Yeah, I'm up there with Alexander Skevington and Max Segler, and we're birding the campus pretty heavily. We've had a few golden eagles over the campus, but a few days ago, I just finished my first semester of college, and it went really well. And on our way out of the town of Lindsay, we discovered a slaty-backed gull. So it's quite rare, and it's something I've never seen down here before.
Any other questions? So on behalf of the Hamilton Naturals, thank you so much.
Thank you for my presentation.
Token of our appreciation.
Thanks so much.
Let me switch this back over here for a minute. All right. Uh-oh, went back to the beginning. Let me click on through really fast here. There's only a couple slides. Found on the web, of course. HamiltonNature.org. If you're on Instagram, @HamiltonNature. We're now on Blue Sky. We're trying this out @HamiltonNature.org. So for those who are abandoning Twitter, like many, we're there. We're also on YouTube. And tonight is actually one of our first experiments with live streaming to YouTube. You might have noticed this laptop down here and all that. We're live streaming the presentation. There was a few people watching, I let a few people know, but we're hoping to make this a more permanent thing so that we can have hybrid meetings once again, because in the past we've done those Zoom meetings, of course, during the pandemic, and tried to do hybrid. And I think YouTube streaming might be our way forward there, so we don't have to pay for a Zoom license for that and handing out passwords, and etc. It's just open, and the wonderful thing is our presentation is just now on YouTube once it's done. So if you have any questions or comments about that, let me know. We're giving it a try. And of course, next month, for the Hamilton Study Group, our bird study group, once again, just a reminder, we've got Shay Smith coming in. And thank you. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, email birdstudygroup@hamiltonnature.org. And I hope you all have a good night and see you in January.